What's going on, guys? It's Meui here, and today I'm going to be going over my Nazeistra's Devotion build. Now, Nazeistra's Devotion is a impact rounds type hand cannon, and the unique ability on this basically reduces defense every shot. I only have one copy of it right now, so it's only minus 15%, but you can actually get this up to minus 30%. So it's a huge debuff, and Colossi in this game have a ton of defense, so having that minus 30% is going to make you and your teammates hit much harder on those. Also, I do want to point out that Nexon did announce that this gun is going to be getting buffed on the next patch, which is in 2 days, so this is a good time to start building this gun out. And with this build, I did try to save several catalyst slots on it, so there is a couple things that aren't 100% min-maxed, but the build is extremely strong. This is all you need. You can get very minimal increases by catalyzing additional slots, but I honestly would not recommend it. This is going to make the gun as powerful as you could possibly need it right now, and you're going to save a lot of time. For your attributes on this gun, there's a couple things you want to look for. So obviously you want to give firearm attack. I would also recommend getting bonus against Colossi. I think this gun's primary purpose is going to be for bossing because of the defense debuff, so I would absolutely recommend getting that and using it against Colossi. And then ideally these last two rolls, you want crit hit rate and crit hit damage. Now you can see I have weak point damage right now. If you get a gold weak point damage, honestly I would just keep it, but you want to try to get both the crit hit rate and the crit hit damage because they work together, and that's just going to give you more damage overall. Now if you don't want the Colossi damage, obviously you leave the weak point hit damage in this case, and then you would get the crit hit chance. Anyways, let's get right into the build here. First we're going to go over the base damage mods. Of course we always go with the rifling reinforcement here, and then also action and reaction for our attack mod. Now this does add a little bit of recoil, but it's nothing super noticeable on this gun. And it's a hand cannon, so it kind of feels natural to have a little bit of recoil anyways. But this damage boost is just completely unmatched, so definitely go with action and reaction here. Now this gun actually has really strong weak point damage and really strong crit rate and crit damage. So we're going to utilize both of those. So we'll be throwing on better insight for the crit hit rate and better concentration for the crit hit damage. Then we're also going to be throwing on fatal critical and insight focus for additional crit hit rate and crit hit damage. Now one thing to note here is you could technically replace one of these with maybe concentration priority, but it's actually an overall DPS loss because of the reload time modifier, and it really makes the gun just feel worse to use. The reload time modifier feels really bad on it because the reload time is already 1.5 seconds, so adding 30% to that does not feel great, and it's an overall DPS loss by doing so. I personally wouldn't recommend it. It makes the gun just feel worse, and it's not going to do as much damage overall, but that's up to you guys. Also, the mod capacity is obviously a lot higher, so you're going to need an extra catalyst if you want to use this mod. Now, you can see I only have these mods both at level 10 here, and that is so we can save multiple catalyst slots. So if you do want to go with this build and save a lot of catalyst slots and still hit like a truck, you're going to want to leave these at level 10, and I'll show you why. Now, for our special mod, we're going to go with weak point expansion. This makes our weak point shots hit way harder every 5 seconds. You definitely want to take this over this mod, which I'm not going to even try to pronounce, because if you do the math here, this mod is actually significantly less damage than the weak point expansion mod. Our crit hit damage multiplier base is 2 times, and our weak point damage multiplier base I think is 1.7 or 1.8 times. I don't remember exactly, but the weak point expansion mod works out to be way higher damage, so make sure you go with this. And for our weak point mods themselves, we're going to go with weak point sight, of course, for just the flat weak point damage. We're also going to take have aiming for the extra 40%, and this is huge on this gun. Now you will notice it's going to give you a 20% accuracy loss. This is very important on this gun because 20% accuracy loss is really bad. It makes the crosshair huge, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So you can see it is just not looking too hot with that mod on. So that is why we go with this level 8 Hawkeye here. It basically makes up the difference for the accuracy loss. And we have this polarity slot right here comes with the gun. So rather than overwriting it, we're going to use it to our advantage. So we're going to put Hawkeye here. That makes up for the accuracy loss. Now, real quick, before I show you guys the power of the gun here, I'll show you a couple options you could make for completely min-maxing it if you want to use 2 additional catalyst slots here. So the first thing you would do is replace the Hawkeye here with something like aiming compensation for a little bit more accuracy, which isn't going to do a whole lot for you, but you also get the 4% crit hit damage. And then after that, you would catalyze your last slot and get both of these to max level of 11 for a little bit of additional damage here, but it's really not a huge difference at all. You could also drop one of these for an elemental mod here, so if you had to choose between one, I would probably drop the fatal critical, and then you could replace it with, like, you know, toxic enhancement, electric enhancement, whatever you want to use there. But this setup is really strong. It's going to do as much damage as you could possibly need, and it's really cheap to make compared to maxing the weapon out completely. And real quick, I'll give you guys a demo of this weapon. Now, this is a level 100 enemy here, so this is about how much you're going to be hitting on actual hard mode enemies. I'm not going to make it a level 1 and trick you guys into thinking this thing's going to hit like 2 million on some enemies that it just doesn't. So we'll go ahead and do some test shots here. 752k. Now that is with the weak point damage, the 140% bonus, and I'll just spam some shots here on the head so you guys can see the damage. Now, one thing with having the lower reload speed from not using concentration priority, you can actually just hold right click and it will zoom in like halfway through, a little bit past halfway through your reload, so that you can just shoot a lot more bullets. And that's what I mean by that. And lastly, I'll do some body shots. Now, obviously this is going to hit a lot less. This gun is very weak point based to get all the damage out of it, but it's actually a weak point there, like on the stomach or something, so I'll shoot the arm here. So yeah, as you can see, you definitely want to go for weak points with this gun to make it really worth using. I would say it's definitely a gun that is best for bossing, but you can use it for other stuff. I would definitely recommend it for bossing, if anything. And here's a quick test against a Colossus. Of course, we don't get a crit on the first weak point hit. Hopefully we can get one. There's a big one there, 600 something K. That is with the yellow mod applied. So yeah, pretty strong weapon. Anyways, that is it for my Nazeistra's Devotion build. Next build I'm going to be working on weapon-wise is going to be an Enduring Legacy build, so stay tuned for that in the upcoming days. And of course, I'll be working on Ultimate Valby here as well when that releases in 2 days. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.